The first day back at the gym always feels different. The air smells faintly of rubber mats, fresh disinfectant, and the lingering scent of exertion. My shoes squeak slightly against the polished floor as I step onto the treadmill, and I can't help but feel like an outsider among the regulars, all moving with confident, practiced ease. My chest tightens with a mixture of anticipation and self-consciousness. I haven't been here in months, and the idea of failing under someone else's watchful eyes gnaws at me. That's when I notice her, the instructor. She's standing near the free weights, adjusting someone's form with an easy grace that only comes from years of experience. There's something magnetic about her presence, an effortless poise, a quiet confidence. She isn't loud or overbearing. She doesn't need to be, and yet she commands attention without demanding it. Her hair is loosely pulled back, a few strands escaping to frame her face, catching the gym lights in a subtle glow. Our eyes meet briefly. There's a spark, fleeting but undeniable, and I feel a strange mixture of nerves and curiosity. She doesn't smile immediately, but there's a soft warmth in her gaze, a quiet acknowledgement that I exist in this space. My heartbeat stutters for a moment, unreasonably aware of her proximity even though we are still across the room from each other. When she approaches me to check my posture on the treadmill, I notice the faint warmth radiating from her as she leans in. She murmurs instructions, and her voice is calm, confident, yet soft, like a gentle nudge in the right direction. The brush of her shoulder against mine is brief but lingering enough to make my pulse pick up. There's an unspoken awareness in the way she corrects my stance, a subtle intimacy in the shared space between us. I straighten a little too quickly, aware of her eyes on me, feeling simultaneously embarrassed and strangely exhilarated. Her touch is professional, but there's a certain energy in the way she moves, measured, graceful, and reassuring, that makes me feel seen in a way I haven't felt in a long time. Even something as mundane as adjusting my arm during a stretch carries a weight I can't explain. The faint scent of her perfume mingled with the gym air lingers longer than it should, imprinting itself into my senses. We exchange a few words, mostly about technique and breathing, but the conversation is sprinkled with subtle pauses where our eyes meet, and time feels like it slows. Each smile she gives, each slight nod, feels deliberate and warm, leaving me unexpectedly aware of her presence long after she moves on to assist another trainee. By the time I leave the gym that day, the memory of her posture, the warmth of her touch, and the quiet steadiness of her gaze has already taken root in my mind. I realize, perhaps too late, that I am not just intrigued by her skill as an instructor. I am drawn to her presence itself. And that subtle spark, tiny but persistent, promises that this encounter is only the beginning of something neither of us fully understands yet. A few days after my first visit, I return to the gym, determined to push myself harder this time. The air smells of sweat and chalk, slightly sharper today, a reminder that this place demands effort and persistence. I spot her immediately, moving between clients with that same effortless confidence, her presence commanding without arrogance. I can't help but notice the way she adjusts her ponytail as she walks, the slight sway in her stride, and the way her eyes briefly meet mine, warm yet calculating. During my one-on-one session, she demonstrates a new exercise, a plank variation that's more challenging than I expected. I watch her first, noting how her form is perfect, every muscle moving with fluid precision. Then she steps forward to guide me, her hand lightly pressing against my back to correct my posture. It's a fleeting touch, professional yet electric. I feel a subtle warmth radiating through me, a jolt of awareness I struggle to ignore. Her proximity is dizzying. As she leans closer to show me the correct form, I become hyper-aware of the small details. The scent of her shampoo mingling with the faint notes of sweat, the way her sleeve brushes against my arm, the softness in her voice when she encourages me. She adjusts my hands, my shoulders, her fingers lingering just a heartbeat too long, enough to send a shiver of anticipation down my spine. My pulse quickens, but I fight to maintain my composure, reminding myself this is just training. She steps back and watches me attempt the move on my own. Her eyes don't just observe, they assess, and in that scrutiny, I sense something more, a quiet curiosity, perhaps even approval. When I falter, she steps forward again, this time standing slightly behind me, guiding my movement with gentle hands on my sides. The contact is minimal, but every brush against her skin feels magnified. I realize I'm not just conscious of her touch. I'm craving it, even if only subconsciously. Her smile when I finally hold the pose correctly is small but knowing. "Better?" she murmurs, her lips barely moving, but the tone lingers in my ears. I try to respond casually, but my voice falters slightly, betraying the nervous excitement bubbling beneath the surface. She doesn't comment on it. Instead, she moves to the next demonstration, leaving me to replay the warmth of her hands and the closeness of her presence. Even as she attends to other clients, I feel the echo of her touch lingering on my skin. Every time our eyes meet across the gym, there's an unspoken acknowledgement, a shared understanding that neither of us can fully articulate. There's tension, yes, but it's gentle, teasing, and intoxicating. The air between us seems charged, not with danger, but with possibility. By the time the session ends, I feel both exhausted and exhilarated, aware that something is stirring that I haven't felt before. She's more than an instructor. She's a presence that lingers, a subtle force that draws me in, challenging my focus and my restraint. And I know, deep down, that this closeness is only the first step of a slow, delicate unraveling. The session that day ends with the usual fatigue, muscles trembling, hearts racing, and the gym buzzing faintly with the chatter of others winding down. I collapse onto a bench near the stretching area, towel draped over my neck, trying to catch my breath. The instructor sits down on the edge of the same bench, close enough that our knees almost touch, but careful to maintain a polite distance. The faint warmth radiating from her is comforting, almost grounding. I feel an odd mix of nervousness and relief in her presence, the kind of tension that comes from being both attracted and intimidated at the same time. She hands me a water bottle, our fingers brushing slightly. It's an innocuous gesture, but I feel it. Small sparks of awareness running up my arm. A subtle reminder that her presence is more than just professional. I clear my throat, trying to focus on the water rather than the electricity in that brief touch. After a long pause, I admit something I've never said aloud. That I've always struggled with stamina, that I'm self-conscious about my performance. Her eyes soften immediately, no judgment in them, only attention and understanding. She tilts her head slightly, letting a few strands of hair fall naturally across her cheek, her expression calm and reassuring. "Everyone has their limits," she says gently. "The important part is recognizing them, and then deciding if you want to push a little further." The simplicity of her words catches me off guard. It's rare to feel so seen, so understood, without pretense. There's a quiet intimacy in the way she listens, fully present, not just physically but emotionally. I notice the way her posture relaxes slightly, the ease in her voice, the subtle curve of her lips when she smiles, and for a moment, I forget I'm at a gym at all. It's just the two of us, sharing a vulnerable corner of our worlds. As we sit there, the ambient noises of the gym fade into the background. The squeak of shoes on mats, the low hum of fans, even the distant clatter of weights. It's as if this small bubble of time exists solely for us, and in it, I realize that attraction isn't just physical. It's the warmth in her eyes, the patience in her guidance, the gentle steadiness of her presence. It's feeling safe enough to admit weakness and yet inspired to rise to the challenge because she believes in me. When she finally stands to move on, helping another trainee, I notice a lingering warmth where her hand brushed mine. The faint echo of her touch lingers in my senses, a subtle imprint that refuses to fade. I sit back on the bench, muscles still trembling, heart still racing, but now with a new awareness. This is no longer just about fitness. Something more profound is stirring, delicate yet undeniable. A slow recognition that connection can happen in quiet, unexpected moments. That day, I leave the gym not just physically exhausted but emotionally awakened. For the first time, I sense the possibility of something beyond the ordinary. A slow, careful, quietly building tension that promises more than just fleeting attraction. and I know that every subsequent visit will carry the subtle weight of this newfound closeness, this shared vulnerability that neither of us fully understands yet, but both are drawn to explore. The next session begins with a teasing glint in her eyes that I can't quite place. She announces she wants to test my stamina personally during today's workout. Her tone is light, playful, yet carries the subtle weight of authority. It's the kind of line that makes my pulse spike without a single inappropriate gesture. Simply her words, the way she says them, and the closeness she commands. As we move to a set of core exercises, she positions herself close to me, demonstrating each movement with practiced grace. When I attempt to mirror her, she steps behind me, correcting my form. Her hands rest lightly on my shoulders at first, then shift subtly to guide my back and sides. Each touch is professional in intention, yet I can't deny the thrill it brings. The warmth of her hands, the faint brush of her hair against my neck, the soft scent that clings to her even amidst the sharp tang of the gym. The exercise requires us to maintain eye contact as we hold positions, her gaze calm yet probing, as if silently measuring not just my endurance but my focus. Every time she leans in to adjust my stance, I feel the electricity in that small space between us. It's more than physical. It's the shared rhythm of breathing, the subtle synchronization of movement, and the quiet intimacy of mutual attention. Her closeness is mesmerizing, not overwhelming, and it leaves me acutely aware of every inch of space between us. During a particularly challenging plank, she kneels beside me, her hand brushing lightly against my arm as she murmurs encouragement. "You've got this," she says, her voice low and steady, almost conspiratorial. My chest tightens, not from exertion alone, but from the proximity, the warmth, and the subtle tension that builds with every controlled movement. The tease in her tone, the slight tilt of her head, the way her eyes linger just a moment too long, all of it blurs the line between professional guidance and something more delicate. She steps back finally, letting me continue on my own, and I notice a change in myself. My heart is racing, not just from the workout, but from the awareness of her presence and the intimacy of shared effort. The playful tension between us lingers like an invisible thread, tugging me toward a connection I'm only beginning to understand. Even her casual glance over her shoulder as she moves to the next client makes me feel singled out, noticed in a way that is both exhilarating and terrifying. By the time we finish, I am dripping with sweat, muscles burning, but my mind is consumed with the subtle impact of her closeness. She doesn't need to say more. Her confidence, her touch, her steady gaze, all speak louder than words. It's in these small, calculated moments that the attraction deepens, slow and deliberate, as if both of us are learning to navigate a delicate balance between desire, respect, and restraint. Walking out of the gym, I can still feel the ghost of her touch, the warmth of her proximity, and the lingering awareness that this playful, professional challenge has become something much more intimate, a careful testing of boundaries, and the first step toward an emotional connection that neither of us can ignore. After an intense session, we collapse into the lounge corner of the gym, the hum of fans and distant clanging of weights fading into a soft background. Sweat drips down my temples, muscles ache pleasantly from the effort, and yet there's a different kind of warmth lingering, one that has nothing to do with physical exertion. She sits across from me on the cushioned bench, towel draped over her shoulder, water in hand, looking both composed and unexpectedly approachable. For the first time, I see a vulnerability in her, a quiet weariness behind the confident exterior she always carries. She lets out a small sigh, and the faint curve of her lips suggests relief more than fatigue. Something about it makes me want to reach out, to offer comfort without overstepping. Tentatively, I crack a small joke about my failed attempts at a particularly grueling move, and to my surprise, she laughs. A soft, genuine sound that resonates warmly in the quiet room. I notice how her hair falls loosely around her face now, strands escaping from the ponytail she wore during the session. When she tucks them behind her ear, it brushes slightly against my arm as I reach for my water bottle. It's an accidental touch, but my awareness of it lingers, as if my body remembers the warmth longer than my mind expects. The faint scent of her perfume, mixed with the lingering gym air, creates a memory that embeds itself in my senses. We sit there in companionable silence for a moment, catching our breath, the unspoken understanding between us thickening. There's no need for words. The shared effort of the workout, the brushes of our hands, and the lingering glances communicate something deeper. For the first time, I feel that attraction is not just about tension or flirtation. It's about connection, recognition, and trust. She begins to speak softly about her own journey with fitness, admitting that even instructors have insecurities and days when their stamina feels lacking. Her honesty surprises me, but more than that, it draws me in. It's rare to see her confidence paired with such openness. The balance between her strength and vulnerability captivates me. I find myself sharing a little more than I normally would. My struggles, my hesitations, even the lingering embarrassment from previous attempts. Her reactions are gentle, encouraging, never dismissive, and in her attentiveness, I feel a sense of ease I rarely experience. When she finally rises to help another client, I notice the lingering warmth where our hands brushed and the faint echo of her presence. Even as she walks away, her smile and the softness in her gaze remain imprinted in my mind. It's a moment that solidifies something quietly powerful, a connection that is emotional, intimate, and entirely respectful. Walking home later, I replay the session in my mind, the weight of her attention and the subtle warmth of her touch resonating long after. This is no longer just a gym routine. It is the beginning of a slow, careful unraveling of emotions, a tender tension that neither of us is rushing but both feel deeply. And for the first time, I realize that attraction isn't just about the body. It's about the heart, the attention, and the courage to be vulnerable in someone else's presence. That evening, walking home from the gym, the city sounds feel distant, as if the world itself has quieted to let me replay every detail of the day. The memory of her presence, calm, confident, and quietly attentive, lingers with an almost tangible weight. I keep replaying the subtle touches, the way her hand brushed mine as she handed me the water bottle, the warmth of her shoulder when she corrected my posture, and that fleeting, teasing glint in her eyes when she said she would test my stamina personally. I stop at a crosswalk, the city lights reflecting off the wet pavement, and let my thoughts wander. The age difference nags at the back of my mind, not in judgment of her, but in my own uncertainty. What would people think if they saw us together? Could a connection like this, delicate and intoxicating, survive the scrutiny of expectations? Yet, alongside that hesitation, there is a quiet pull I cannot ignore. I am drawn to her not merely for her beauty, but for her presence, her intelligence, the warmth she extends even in small gestures. I think about the vulnerability we shared in the lounge that afternoon, the way she allowed herself to show her human side, and the way I felt comfortable enough to admit my insecurities. That kind of openness is rare, and it makes me realize that my feelings are not just superficial. They are emotional, grounded in the sense of being truly seen. I replay the warmth of her hands, the calm steadiness in her voice, and the subtle tension in the air when we were close, and I feel both exhilarated and apprehensive. Sitting on a quiet bench in the park, I catch my reflection in the water of the fountain. There's a hesitation in my posture, a nervous energy I can't quite shake. I question myself constantly. Am I overthinking? Am I misreading her gestures? And yet, deep down, I know that every glance, every brush of skin, every moment of shared laughter and understanding has been deliberate, conscious. The realization both thrills me and terrifies me. I imagine her at the gym, guiding someone else through a routine, her voice calm, her movements fluid. Even in my imagination, she commands attention, but it's not the kind that demands. It's the kind that draws you in naturally. I feel a pang of longing, but also a profound respect for the boundaries she maintains. She is confident, self-assured, and entirely her own person. The idea of overstepping that boundary, of rushing the slow, delicate rhythm we've established, fills me with caution. By the time I finally reach home, my mind has settled into a quiet reflection. I understand that this attraction is not something to be forced or rushed. It is a slow burn, a tension that must be nurtured with patience and respect. The touches, the glances, the shared vulnerability, they are the foundation of something deeper, something worth exploring carefully. I fall asleep that night with a sense of anticipation, knowing that the next encounter holds the promise of connection, but also the responsibility of restraint. In that careful balance of desire and hesitation, I realize something essential. The heart is learning to navigate not just attraction, but understanding, respect, and the courage to feel deeply without losing control. And it is in this tension, quiet and steady, that the true story begins to unfold. A few days later, I return to the gym with the familiar mix of anticipation and nervous energy. The air smells of rubber mats, faint perfume, and the faint tang of exertion. The familiar hum of treadmills and weights feels comforting now, a background rhythm to the tension that has been slowly building between us. She is there, already moving among the clients, guiding them with that effortless poise that always draws my attention. But this time, there's a subtle shift in her presence, a warmth that feels directed at me, personal yet unspoken. She spots me and gives a small, casual nod, her lips curving into a smile that carries familiarity without overstepping boundaries. It's an invitation, quiet and understated, but I recognize it. As I approach, she gestures toward a new, slightly challenging exercise, asking if I want her guidance. My heart picks up, aware of the shared history in the brief touches, the laughs, and the quiet moments of vulnerability. As we begin, she positions herself beside me, not too close, but within a space that feels intimate. Her hand rests briefly on my shoulder to correct my posture, and I feel the familiar warmth that has become almost addictive. Every glance we share is loaded with unspoken understanding, the teasing, the encouragement, the shared recognition of effort and growth. It's subtle, but electric, and I realize that what began as professional guidance has become something far more meaningful. During the session, there are quiet pauses when we catch each other's eyes, moments when her gaze lingers just long enough to make my pulse rise. She offers encouragement with a soft smile, her voice calm yet personal, guiding me not just in the exercise but in believing in myself. The previous tension, playful, uncertain, and charged, has evolved into a comfortable rhythm, a shared space where we can connect without words. After finishing the routine, we sit in the lounge corner again, this time more relaxed, the exhaustion of physical effort softened by the emotional connection that has grown between us. She hands me a water bottle, our fingers brushing lightly, the contact warm and familiar. There's no rush, no forced intimacy, just a steady, mutual awareness that we enjoy each other's presence, that we feel seen and appreciated. As I gather my things to leave, she gives a small, knowing smile. "You've improved," she says simply. But the words carry more than praise. They carry acknowledgement of effort, growth, and the subtle bond we've developed. I smile back, feeling a quiet contentment that is rare and profound. Walking out of the gym, the evening air feels softer, lighter. The city hums around me, but I carry the warmth of our connection like a secret light. I realize that the slow burn, the playful tension, the vulnerability, the careful touches, has matured into mutual understanding and respect. It's not loud or dramatic, but it is deeply satisfying, a foundation for something genuine and enduring. For the first time, I feel a quiet certainty. This is more than attraction. It is a connection built on attention, patience, and trust. A connection that can grow steadily, nurtured by the subtle intimacy we've discovered. And as I glance back toward the gym, catching a glimpse of her guiding another client, I know that our story is only beginning, but it has already found its rhythm, calm and assured, just like her presence. If you felt the tension, the warmth, and the slow burn connection between them, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more age gap romance stories that explore subtle emotions and heartfelt connections. Comment below which moment made your heart race the most. We'd love to hear your thoughts.